So have you faced any challenges, any major challenges, or any successes, or anything you want to
Um,
tell us about?
part of my role at the Zionist Federation here has
Mm-hmm.
been working with not-for-profit organisations around Australia and trying to support them in using new technology.
Mm-hmm.
I also do strategic advice for a number of organisations in the US, Europe, etc. Um, Part of the challenge I find is that people don't really understand that social media is an expertise, that people do spend a lot of time developing skills in this area.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a lot of people, a lot of decision makers still feel that if they could get their 15-year-old son or daughter to do it, that would be good enough.
Okay.
And it doesn't actually understand that this is a professional field.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and if you want a professional job done, you need to get a professional to do it. That's the first challenge. The second challenge is if you give people a very complete plan, this is a social media approach for how we meet certain objectives, they don't always listen. You know,
Okay.
they take the advice, but then don't always see the expert advice as being the same sort of expert advice as if they had a legal question and they went to consult their lawyer, or
Right.
a money question and went to consult their accountant.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Part of that is because it's a very young field. Part of it is because people in leadership positions, people, in charge, um, tend to be a little bit older.
Okay.
And there's a generation gap with the technology. There's very
Right.
few very young people who are in very senior positions.
Right.
The place we do see such young leaders is the technology companies,
Mm-hmm.
which is why the technology companies work. Uh, there's this generation gap which is playing itself out,
Right.
across numerous fields. Um, it would be nice to think that in a few years, either people would start to get it or new people would get into positions of influence
Right.
and be able to make the most of this technology. But the truth is the technology moves so fast that in 5 years' time, we'll be 10 years out of date.
Right.
It's...
The gap is
Um,
growing.
the gap is growing, and the people with the technical skills are often younger.
Mm-hmm.
They might not have the full range of business skills and expertise, and they don't have the general life experience that more established professionals have in other fields. Um, I'm not quite sure how we manage that, other than getting more people with at least an understanding of social media onto boards, onto committees, into advisory positions.
Mm-hmm.
But long term for social media, I think that's one of the challenges, and it applies equally for the non-for-profit sector, for governments, and even for companies. If social media is where it's at, social media is where your marketing strategies are.
Uh-huh.
You need to engage experts. You need to treat them as experts, and you need to work out how you merge that expertise and input with the rest of your business, corporate, government, not-for-profit, whatever it is, strategy,
Mm-hmm.
with your actual mission and objectives. And I think that's part of the organisational challenge which people around the world will be facing in the social media sphere.
Okay. Right. Very well. Thank you very much. And what about like success? Like, have you had any experiences which you'd like to share with
Um,
us?
we have had some successes. A few years ago, again for Gilad Shalit, there was a campaign on Twitter
Mm-hmm.
which a number of organisations were involved with. It was started by a group called the JIDF, and the campaign was to get Gilad Shalit to be a trending topic in Twitter. If
Okay.
I remember correctly, it was for the third anniversary. And they did this. And I forget, one of the major US political figure died at this, on the day this campaign was running. And even with that, and even with a number of international incidents around the world,
Mm-hmm.
Gilad Shalit still managed to be one of the top 10 trending topics. I think it was floating around number 2, number 3.
Wow. Okay.
So that was an organised campaign to try and raise awareness in Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big success. Um, we've also had some success. Google Earth was one I was involved with. There was an effort to put these little orange markers all over the map on Israel, declaring it's basically political content,
Okay.
and it was content that was apolitical and B, inappropriate. And we managed through a campaign to convince Google that they should change their approach so that content going into the map shouldn't just be judged on its technical. Originally, data going onto the Google Earth map was judged purely on how technically sound the code was, how good the code looked. And we
Okay.
said, no, the map is it's geographic data. It's about real places. People expect to see quality information. So you need to come up with a system where the information that appears on the map, at least by default, is quality information. You can't just say the code looks good. You've got to say the data's accurate.
Right.
And Google actually changed their policy and fixed that one. We had another one with a Facebook group that was one of what I call anti-Semitism 2.0. A Facebook group that was trying to promote the acceptability of hatred against Jews. And this was the Israel is not a country group.
Okay.
And through a campaign, again, we managed to get that group removed.
Okay.
It took a lot of work in the media, research publications, etc. And then a whole battle on Wikipedia with discussions over was this group really anti-Semitic or not.
Okay.
And this is one of the problems with Wikipedia. On the one side, you had a group of experts who were publishing stuff in peer-reviewed publications, saying this is anti-Semitic, this is why. On the other hand, you had editors with no expertise who were saying, well, I disagree.
Right.
We're like, well, where's your references? What's your sources? And there really wasn't anything. But just by being persistent, some of them were able to keep trying to undermine this and trying to wear the experts down. In that case, again, we won in the end.
Okay.
And it was agreed that enough major NGOs, enough newspaper articles, enough research reports had come out saying this was anti-Semitic, and nothing had said that it wasn't.
Right.
So, okay, now we agree that the facts are true.
Right.
As soon as Wikipedia came out and said, okay, we've had the debate, we've concluded that this was an anti-Semitic group, as soon as that was done, Facebook went and removed the group.
Okay.
So I reckon it's actually the discussion in Wikipedia that influenced Facebook's decision.
Right.
So, yeah, we've had wins on a number of places. It's difficult. There's so much content out there in social media now,
Right.
and so many issues people are dealing with, that to try and capture people's attention takes something special.
Right.
So hopefully we'll get the technology right. We'll make things innovative and interesting. We'll work on those campaigns that people care about, like, for example, the Gilad Shalit one. If people will back us on what's a human rights campaign, we should be able to get to hundreds of thousands, if not 1 million people, 1 million messages.
Right.
Hopefully it happens, but all we can do is try. If you don't try, you can't succeed.
Absolutely. All right, very well then. Andre, thank you so much for being with us today and being a part of our interview. I'm sure all our listeners have gained a lot from your knowledge and expertise. Once again, thank you. Absolutely.